Welcome to another episode of One Pittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. Today we are at Pittsfield Fire Department headquarters, and in a few minutes we'll be talking with Chief Sammons in regards to an update of the fire department. But first I want to give you an update of what I've been doing the last couple of weeks and a highlight of the upcoming City Council meeting this Tuesday. First, I was invited to speak in front of the Charter Commission. I was one of the founding members of the Charter Commission back in 2013. We talked about a whole host of things about the terms of the mayor, the terms of the city council, terms of the city clerk. I advised or recommended that all terms are the same time. So I advocated for a 4-year term for mayor, city council, school committee, and city clerk. We also talked about charter objection and how it can or should be used. I know there are some that want to eliminate, but I think the charter objection is a useful piece of city government, but it can't be abused, because when it gets abused, it stalls government and the work that they do. I was invited to speak to Rotary Club of Pittsfield and give them an update of what we've done for the first 3 months in office. And we had a pretty good dialogue about how Rotary Club can help Pittsfield and how Pittsfield can help Rotary Club. I attended the 40 Under 40 celebration up at Berkshire Community College. I was honored to be there to represent the 3 city employees that were honorees, as well as 4 members of the school department that were honorees. We welcomed 2 state officials to the city of Pittsfield in the last couple of weeks. First is the Economic Development Secretary, Yvonne Howe. We are working with her in collaboration with bringing a couple new businesses to the city of Pittsfield, and I can't wait to share more, but we're still in the deliberations with these companies, and so stay tuned for further information. I was also able to meet with Secretary Augustus. He's the housing secretary, and we were talking about the housing needs within the city of Pittsfield and what we need to do and what the state can do to help us improve those things. We've been working on our budget preparation, as we've talked about for a number of times. We had our joint school committee city council meeting where we did a review of the fiscal 23 audit. We gave an update of where we are on fiscal year 24. We talked briefly about what the fiscal year 25 budget would look like, but we spent a majority of the time trying to get folks to recognize the difference between a tax rate, assessed value property, and average tax bill. And so we say in Pittsfield all the time, well, we have the highest taxes. Well, the facts to be told, we may have the highest tax rate, but our average tax bill ranks 10th within Berkshire County. And we, the city of Pittsfield, provide more services than the rest of the communities around us. And so I think we're doing well if we're only in the top third in terms of tax bills, but still providing much more service than we can. In addition, so that's the city council meeting. We have a couple items that are coming back. We have the $2 million appropriation from the Public Works Stabilization Fund and $615,000 of free cash that we are going to talk about with doing street improvements. The borrowing for $300,000 for the construction or the design of the new taxi lane at the airport. And that's important because that will allow us to build additional hangars at the airport and increase the revenue that the airport provides to the city of Pittsfield. We also have the order for $650,000 from the Sewer Enterprise Fund to update the sewage lines on Holmes Road. Let's talk a little bit about next week. Students will be on spring break, and Downtown Pittsfield Inc. is hosting several fun activities for kids and families of all ages. So first, DPI and the Pittsfield Police Department are partnering to host a spring scavenger hunt of Where's Winston, where images of Officer Winston, the PPD's comfort dog, will be hidden through dozens of downtown locations. Every Winston location has a unique word with him. Find the word, write it down, put the word on your card, and then turn your card into the Berkshire Athenaeum to win your prize. In collaboration with Downtown Pittsfield Inc., Pittsfield Parks and Recreation will host and celebrate a spring beach party day on Wednesday, April 17th from 3 to 6 at the Onoto Lake Beach. There will also be a scavenger hunt, relay races, games, and free food. The Onoto Lake Beach Toy Library will also be unveiled during that event. Let's just hope that by that point in April, we're not having snow. We can have sand on our beach instead of snow. On Tuesday, April 16th at 10:30, the Athenaeum will host an experimental art with Anna for ages 6 to 12, where they will learn the steps to make woven canvas art pieces. At 3 p.m. on April 16th, for all you Swiftie fans, the Athenaeum invites kids and teenagers between the ages of 6 and 18 to a Taylor Swift party where they can perform karaoke, make friendships, bracelets, write songs, and enter a costume contest. So check out many of these events happening during the week at downtownpittsfieldinc.com or on their social media platforms. One business acknowledgement, we want to welcome Face Frame Collective, a one-stop beauty shop that is opened at 437 North Street. Congratulations to Chastity and Victoria. I look forward to welcoming you officially at a future downtown upcoming celebration. Stay tuned for details. As we've said in all our shows, if you're a business or an organization that is opening for the first time and we don't know about it, which we probably should, or you're a business or organization celebrating some milestone, please let us know. I'd love to have the opportunity to honor you during the TV show. Let's talk briefly about the council agenda. Besides the items that are coming back, we are reappointing Steve Como to the Board of Registrars. We have a request from Public Works Department to waive all the fees associated with the ARPA-funded water meter installation for our senior residents. We're giving away a water meter. We're providing it to free. It doesn't make sense to ask the residents to pay for the building permit. So we're taking care of that. We have 2 grants coming from the Cultural Development, one for $15,000 in regards to the Cultural District, and one for $48,500, which is the Local Cultural Council allocation. A donation of the toy library that we just kind of referenced a few minutes ago at Onoto Lake from Alexandra Bills, who's a high school student who's making this donation as part of her National Honor Society project. We're grateful to her for her willingness to build this toy library and keep it filled throughout the season. We have a request from the city clerk to increase the hourly wages for our election workers. We have 2 responses to petitions that we have. One, a response to Councilors Amuso and Rin regarding all of the inventory of our city-owned vehicles and where they are stored during the night or if they're taken home. And we have a petition from Councilor Lampiazzi and Councilor Sear with a request that we have LED special signs as a priority in our fiscal year 25 budget. So all that being said, now we're going to turn to Chief Sammons. Chief, thank you for inviting us to headquarters and hosting us here.
You're welcome.
And so, not part of what I had planned on, but I was on a radio show yesterday, and you know, we were asked by the City Council to, provide a level-funded budget, a budget that I have said clearly is not something I support and will not put forward. And unfortunately, we've talked about the items that we would lose if we did a level-funded budget, and one of those is impacting the Pittsfield Fire Department. And so, I think I want to help distill the rumor that we hear out there. So it is true. I did ask you to submit a level funded budget. I also asked you to do a level service.
Correct.
And I also asked for a wish list.
Yep.
And I think I stated the other night that none of the wish list items made it to the final draft, although I think police and fire both had one wish list that we kind of even made it not a wish list. We put it into the budget for you guys. But one of your responses was that we would need to cut overtime in order to do the level service funded budget, which in turn would mean that we would need to brown out stations.
Right, when there wasn't enough, when we went below our minimum manning of 18, that station would have to close.
So I want to be clear, folks, that this was an exercise that the City Council had requested us to do. There are no fire stations closing because of fiscal year 25. I know we talk about it a lot, and when we talk about it, I'm sure people only hear bits and pieces of what we're talking about. And so just for the record, fire stations are staying open. I realize the importance of our fire stations, and so I'll say something that may not be popular, but I'm more concerned about our fire stations staying open because of our medical calls than fire calls. And I think that we know as a community, you probably go on 10 times more medical calls than you do fire calls sometimes.
It's yes and no, because it's calls for service, so it's not just fire calls. We do have a lot of fires that don't make the paper. We have a lot of fires that are caught in the incipient stage because you have a full-time fire department, because we're there, because we can respond quickly. But there's also calls for everything. When people don't know what to do, they call the fire department. And on any given day, we go for squirrel in a house, bird in a house, we go for obvious medical calls, we go for lift assist, we do a lot. So, and we bring our toolbox with us wherever we go.
Well, I was a little bit nervous last summer. My cat got out, spent 3 hours in the tree, and I was like, I am not calling the fire department to get my cat out of the tree, because that would make the front page of the paper.
That would make the front page.
So we just waited for the cat to come back down.
They do. They get tired and come down.
So Chief, before we really get into the department, you're maybe 5 years into being chief, 4 years being chief.
Yeah, in September it'll be 5.
So talk to me about your journey to become a chief, because I know you're no stranger to me, and I've watched you come through the ranks. So talk about the journey to become chief.
So I started in the fire department in 1996, in the fall of '96, and I was a firefighter for close to 14 years before I made lieutenant. And when I made, but during that 14 years, I learned so much from some great officers that taught you how to respond to structure fires, how to, bedside manner, how to do the job, right? It's blue collar work. So when I became a lieutenant, I was put in the inspection bureau. The inspection bureau is the other side of the fire department, where it's fire education, fire inspection, code enforcement. And for 14 years on the floor doing firefighting and that, it was a completely other side of the job that you just don't know. And I had some great inspectors that showed me the ropes. And I told them, I said, you take care of me, I'll take care of you. And I learned over the 4 years in there I was a certified fire inspector. I was a juvenile fire setter specialist, and it was great. So after 4 years as a lieutenant, I made captain, and then moved up to deputy chief. And then in September of '19, I became the chief right before COVID.
Great experience, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So it was quite a transition, and but we got together. The city had a great team. You were a part of it. You were on all the morning calls, and we got through it.
So you mentioned going from firefighter to lieutenant, and the inspector bureau was a totally different world. How much different going from the inspector bureau to chief? How much of a different world was that?
Well, going from deputy chief to chief was hard. Because you work 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, and then your time off, and then I switched to days where I'm steering the ship. But I have my deputies. I got my office manager that's been through 3 chiefs before me, so she's been there, she's done it, and the deputy chiefs all have our special duties that we do. So we all work together as a team. We've got a great team in the fire department.
Yeah, well, so you said 24 on, 24 off. Now you're 24 on, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So let's kind of not forget that.
Every time the phone rings.
All of us are on call 24/7 in some of these jobs. But so I thank you for that. My experience through the COVID stuff. COVID hits, we cancel our first city council meeting, then what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. How fast we learn that life could happen not in person. Kudos to the mayor's ARPA team. We made it through with pretty good results, and kudos to you and back then Chief Wynn from the public safety standpoint, helping us navigate through that piece. So I think most people, when we say fire department, we think big red truck, we think rushing to a fire, mm-hmm. And you kind of alluded bird in the attic, squirrel in the attic, bird in the house, whatever. Tell me about the other departments and pieces that we don't normally think about that would come from the fire department.
So we have special teams within the fire department. We have 2 state teams and then a Berkshire County regional team. So the District 5 hazmat team is a state-funded hazmat response team. This is District 5. There's 6 districts. And we have members from the Pittsfield Fire Department. Most of the members are from the Pittsfield Fire Department. We have other members from North Adams that have been with us the whole time. And more recently, we've have members from the town of Lenox and the town of Lee. And there's the tech rescue team. So they do above ground and underground rescues. It's a state team, and there's members from Pittsfield, a lot of members from Pittsfield. We also have members from Lenox, and maybe Lee, and they do a lot of state training. There's also the the dive team that came about shortly after I became chief. We had a fatality in Silver Lake, and it was, we're a response unit. We respond, we get the job done. We didn't have that element to get in the water and make a rescue. We got in the water, but we didn't know, so we needed to bring the dive team back. It had been on 13 years ago, it went out. So I talked with Mayor Tyre at the time, and she approved it. And we got all the training. I got 12 guys up and going. And now we have a strong element with the Sheriff's Department, who's been there all along, but it's not a robust team. And now we have members from Lennox, and we've just started training a Pittsfield police officer. So, and then there's, we're training the, we have a critical incident stress debriefing team here in the department, and they're all coming on board. There's a lot of training with that. So, but it's important. They don't really talk to our people here in the department, but they'll talk to other members of other departments that are firefighters and police and EMS and dispatchers, actually. So that's pretty important.
So recently, our social media post, so you alluded earlier to your office manager that has been through 4 chiefs. I think, full disclosure, we're being watched by both of our right-hand people as we're taping this show, and she's correcting us and saying she's been through 5 chiefs. And my right-hand person is really the person behind all of my social media as the mayor and all of the city hall stuff. And so we recently had a do you know about burning permits and burning season? So talk to us a little bit, since we're smack dab in the middle of
we're in burning season. So burning season runs from January 1st to April 30th. It's a permit. You need a permit to have to burn brush. It's BC burn permits. So if you go to bcburnpermits.com and select Pittsfield, you can fill out the permit and you'll have it, and then we'll be able to know what addresses in the city are burning. So that's critical if the wind picks up. But there's a lot of rules that go with that. So you need a water supply. You need to be able to put the fire out. You can only burn brush. You can't burn leaves. And you have to have it. You have to monitor it. So the idea is, if you have a large pile of brush, you make a small fire and then you feed it throughout the day. It can never be unattended. So the entire time it's burning, it has to be attended. And then if you have to leave, or it's between 10 and 4, so if you're running into 4 o'clock, you have to put it out. And you have to be conscious of your neighbors. So if you're burning, you have a permit, but your neighbor is, for health reasons, doesn't like the smoke, be a good neighbor. Mm-hmm. We run into that quite a bit. So really, that's it. Burn brush. Don't burn leaves.
And the deadline to burn ends
April 30th.
Okay.
So it's coming up. You got a month.
You can burn for the rest of this month. The fire department also has an inspection bureau. Yep. That really is more of an education arm and a public safety arm to the fire department. Can you just speak briefly about what that role is and what they do?
So they're critical. So they do a lot of inspections. So there's certain occupancies that need to be inspected 4 times a year. So your hospitals, any medical facility, the schools, and they do all the smoke detector inspections. They do all the new business. So they do all the oil burner inspections, and they do public education. So they do, I have 3 certified public education people, and so they'll do the schools, and then they'll do all the elderly housing too. So, because it's critical. It's critical that they get in, and we get a lot of grants for that, so we can give out pamphlets and flyers, a lot of educational material, and then we have the open house in October. And you were here at our last one, and toured the station. Gave you a nice eye-opening tour through the station.
that's one of the things where you quickly learn as mayor, be careful what you ask for. I was the one that wanted to go on the tour. I was just looking around the building that we're in now and was like, what does the basement look like? Because this was making me a little bit nervous of seeing some of the things I see. And I think that goes to the point of, as we're developing budgets and we're developing priorities, we have to pay attention to our maintenance that we're deferring into the next century, because sooner or later that's going to cost us tons. So Chief, I think there are people in the community that think, hey, you become a firefighter, hooray, I'm a firefighter, and I have this job for the rest of my life that I don't have to do anything for. The fact of the matter is you guys go through extensive training on a regular basis. Can you give me some idea of what that training is like? And then I just recently saw the emails about the lithium ion battery stuff. So just give us a little bit of insight about training as a firefighter and how constant it is.
So when you start, so it's a civil service. We're a civil service city. So when you get hired, there's, we do the interviews and there's background checks. And then you start in the fire department. The city of Pittsfield has always maintained a drill school. So we always have had a training officer, and so the new recruits will go through 4 weeks of training here to learn how to be a fireman or a firefighter. And then after those 4 weeks, they go to the floor, but they learn all phases of what they're going to do. This is blue collar work, and so you learn how to respond. You're next to, when you get on the floor, you're next to a senior firefighter. And then after that, when there's space, we'll send all of our new recruits to the 10-week state program at the Mass Fire Academy in Springfield. And after 10 weeks, then they come out. It's much more in depth. Obviously, it's 10 weeks. They come back, and then they're assigned to a group, and then their career really begins. It's a 1-year probation, but like I mentioned, we have a training captain who is constantly, we do constant training every day. So whether it's just the engine company training or if it's everybody, we get together and we do, in the summers we all do 1010s on Pex Road still. We can't really burn in that building anymore because it's worn out. It's over 70 years old. You mentioned the lithium ion fires. That's an emerging threat. Go to YouTube and put in lithium ion fires, and it's scary. 99% of the time they're safe, 1% of the time they're not. And a lot of that is just, I was at a hazmat convention last week. Buy the proper lithium ion batteries from reputable. If you have a Toshiba laptop and you need a new battery for it, buy a Toshiba battery. Stick with the name brands. They've found that a lot of UL stamping is counterfeit. A lot of those batteries don't even need to be plugged in, and they'll start on fire. And when they catch on fire, it's fast and it's powerful. It's scary. The city of New York has made more rope rescues off the top of buildings because people are trapped because of electric bikes. Electric bikes are a lot of money. Right. So they bring them in their apartment and leave them by their exit way. And if they catch on fire, your exit is now cut off. Yep. The only way they were getting people out is by rope rescue, which is something that nobody wants to do. They can and they do, but it's certainly not but lithium-ion batteries are what we see as an emerging threat.
So one quick question, and then we'll wrap this up because we're actually almost out of time. You go to Citizens Academy on a regular yearly basis, and you talk about Citizens Academy. Talk to us really quickly about what it takes to equip a firefighter with all the stuff that they need to. So
it's about to outfit a firefighter is about $8,000. It's over $8,000, but that's turnout gear. So turnout gear, rubber boots, a mask, and then a complement of wildland firefighting gear, and station uniforms, and that eats up $8,000 per person. And then by NFPA, you have to have a second set of gear that's compliant. And so we use, for the most part, we use used gear for that. Gear that's still compliant, but it's been recycled out, and that'll be somebody's second gear, and then they'll get a new set. So it's expensive.
And how long does the gear last?
10 years.
10 years.
10
okay,
years.
So that's not a bad.
Unless it's destroyed.
That's not a bad bang for your buck then.
But
you can get a.
You know, it gets ripped. We're
Right.
crawling. You know, we're crawling on our hands and knees in buildings. You tear up your. You know, even though they're padded, you tear up your knees. You tear up your pockets. So they get beat up and they get hot. And if they get too hot, you put them out of service.
So we're going to wrap up here. First, thank you for opening up headquarters for us today. Thank you to the men and women who are serving in the Pittsfield Fire Department. We now have two.
We have two.
Two women representing us. And so thank you for inviting us in, and thank you for the work you do. I witnessed one time firsthand PFD running into a burning building across the street from me, and I would have been running in the other direction. So thank you to all of you guys do. For you guys at home, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode of One Pittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. In the meantime, be well, and hopefully the weather will start to cooperate with us so that we can enjoy our spring. Thanks, and have a good one.
Think fire safety.